Flag. Flag. Good.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. I second it.
All those opposed?
No,
Oh, make
I
a
first.
Go ahead.
You had me voting for the second. All those in favor?
All those in agreement? Aye. Opposed? We both accept the minutes for our meetings.
And that's, this is what the state is talking about, right?
Yeah, we will return out, it's worth it.
Voted.
Okay. Township of State, you give the report.
So the capital improvement plan, slash roads fund, there's a thing here that talks about it. It's House and World Act 1461. It was in the last legislative session. What the idea was is that townships are sitting on statewide, a lot of cash balances. So some legislators from some parts of Indiana I'm not familiar with, had a big roads bill. It wasn't just for townships. We were just one subsection of it. And it talked about us transferring our excess balances to this roads fund. I was working with the state association on lobbying this bill because we're not involved with the roads. And when they originally had it come out, it would get up to 50% of our cash balances from any fund, all the 85% that went to the roads fund. So the law did change a little bit. It still has us giving a portion to this now newly established roads fund. So it went in effect July 1st, 2025, and what we have to do with it is annually we have to adopt the CIP plan. The CIP plan for townships is basically a way to protect those unobligated cash balances, whether it's, if it's budgeted, it's not going to go to the 30%, but anything left over after that is subject to the 30% if you do not have a CIP involved. What a CIP, capital improvements, it has to be some type of building infrastructure, machinery, equipment. It can't be, we're saving $200,000 for an emergency assistance program, or if something would happen in crisis. We have to put it towards physical assets. We had it a couple years ago, Linda, and the trigger back then was if you were over 250%, you had to do it. We weren't in that situation at the time. Now all townships have to adopt it by September 30th. And you have to have a detailed plan of what your cash balances are going to be reserved for. Good thing is it's only unrestricted funds. So for townships, that's the rainy day, the general fund, fire protection, township assistance, park and recreation, cumulative fire, cumulative park. All those are designated specific or restricted funds. So that cash balances on those will not go to this 30%. So in the little thing here, it's not more or less to make a movement on it. We just got to start making progress and ideas of what we want to do going forward with that money, or that 30% will come off. So it won't take all of our cash balances right away, but year after year, it'll start to dwindle down. Then when you don't have excess, you won't get to the roads fund. What happens in that instance, we have to enter MOUs with the city or the county on certain road projects. We can strike down, we as a township, more of you guys, the board can strike down the roads, or they can approve them, but they would have to bring proposals to us, which is just gonna add more to it. It has to be within the township boundaries, and if we don't like any of the projects, we don't have to do it. I think the law is gonna get changed a little bit next session, to take that away, but that was, when I heard it in the bill, I was like, well, then townships would just strike down all the roads projects if they don't have the money to do so. Problem is, after that 30% trigger, it goes to a roads fund. So we keep it, it stays in our bank accounts, but now it becomes restricted only for one purpose, for which we keep the roads. We did ask some questions that nobody can seem to answer, whether or not that can be for like sidewalks and walkways, because those are things that obviously don't cost as much as the street. So we did try to find out if we could get the money to do stuff like that, if we had to do it, or if we decided to do it down the road. But I think the CIP, there's things either through the building equipment that we need, that we could get a register of stuff to do. One thing that we're looking at our ADA on our front doors, our doors are outdated, having issues with them, the bathrooms aren't really ADA compliant, and looking at things like that we didn't plan to do, but it might be a good time to do. Accessibility in the Summers Park, I think that was one thing that I was looking at, because, you know, if your mobility is challenged, it can be a little complicated getting through those hills. So that would be something that we would need to gather information on and say, hey, do we want to put this in the CIP? But we have to put something on there, or that 30% is going to come off of the ending tax balance. So I wanted you guys to kind of not really study this, but kind of think about it between the next month and a half, because I want to do it probably about the same time as our budget. That way, if we have new projects, we're looking at the roof, it's not wondering how old it is, probably 15 to 20 years, a very expensive roof. HVAC, all that stuff that can go in there and say, okay, these are things that we're just trying to hope they don't go bad or we have to repair them, but it may be good things to put in our CIP so that we can say, hey, we're saving this money for that reason. Can't really say fire trucks or anything like that, but things that are involved with either the physical buildings, computer equipment, or anything at the park we can put in that CIP to come out of the rainy day or general fund. Do you guys have questions on it?
No, I don't.
So I'm looking to see if we can do the public, have a public hearing for that as well and adopt it. If we can do that in correlation with our budget hearings in August, I'll ask the DLGF rep if we can do that. If we have to have an extra meeting, we can have an extra meeting, but we may be able to do it all either in our public hearing or our adoption meeting. So that way we can get it out of the way and have it submitted before September.
It's money that we set aside for the different groups that we give money to. That's not included.
In the CIP, we could put, since it's not a physical asset, we wouldn't be able to put stuff like that in the CIP.
Okay, so that money that we reserve to them would be part of the money they would take 30% of.
In a manner, if it was in our budget already, that money, 30% is not gonna come out, it's gonna be after the budget. So some people thought it's, Gene, when you was trustee, you used to have very good budgets, didn't spend that much. You can put X amount of dollars in your budget and it will be protected through the budget. They're gonna go for anything after your budget is spent. So, anything that's there now, as long as we can find it, we can afford it, it shouldn't be included. But if we have excess left after that projected, they will come from that at that point. They mean, it's just a transfer. There's not any, there's not a group that's gonna get it, but it will be for that transfer that we have to do internally to the roads fund.
Find out about the sidewalks, because we do have sidewalk use.
The one on Jefferson,
One right at Park.
yeah, and then the ground underneath it is.
That's a big, really big project.
And that's what we were talking to our groundskeeper guy, just think of things like the cemetery. We have a water break out there.
Oh, there is?
I don't know how we want, you may have water,
The one over by-
but it's on West 22.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get some ideas and some things that are cosmetic. The sidewalk is needed, it's up and down. Anthony talked to the city a couple years ago about 50/50, even though that's for property owners, they may be able to do that for us as well. So it may reduce the cost on it, but we're trying to make a list of things. And a lot of people say, hey, make a wait list. Doesn't mean you're obligated to go do this, but say, hey, these are things that you can do that are in our CIP. That way they know why we're trying to save this money. The budget outlook for 2026, obviously this isn't our budget meeting, but we usually meet in July and talk about what you guys would like to see. For me, it's a complicated time with budgets in this roads bill, Senate Bill 1, to figure out how this all going to work out in the next 5 to 10 years. I may not be here in 5 to 10 years, but you take the roads fund where they wanted to complete money, and then you get the Senate Bill 1 where they're going to, give you less money, and it's like, how do we do this? We've been relying on these tax reserves for years, but you want to pull that away from us. We don't want to raise property taxes by any means, but we're kind of stuck in the middle. So my goal is to not raise our property tax levy. I don't know what this outlook in this budget workshop season is going to be like as far as what projected into 2026. I think we're in a financially good position still to keep going on with business as usual, but I have to keep in mind things are going to change. There's a sheet in here that kind of talks, it's a very brief thing about Senate Bill 1. The biggest thing for us is going to be the property tax reductions. The credits are going away, but they're switching to a different model, and then the lit. So we get about $360,000 from lit each year. It fluctuates. We don't have to go apply for it. The county allocates all the agencies their lit money. Now the city will have their own lit. The county will have their own lit, but like townships and the libraries and the other special districts will have to go to the county council, ask for lit money, and it's going to be a process. So I don't know how that'll work with our budgets and being like, they're deciding that this township gets it, or the library gets it, or that township gets it. So I think, reducing property taxes one way, but it's also going to allow the ability for local areas to increase local income tax, which to me isn't transparent, but that's just my opinion. With the budget, I'm trying to keep that in mind, like where are we going to go, with the roads fund. I don't want to take levy in that fund particularly because I want to spend that cash balance down with the budget that's coming for that year. So when we get to that public meeting, you may see some things like, why aren't we taking levy in the general fund, but we're taking it all in Port Relief. I want to make sure we protect that money in Port Relief because there have been years where we had to do, an additional appropriation for $200,000 or $150,000 for township assistance. And you never know which way things go. This month was really hard for our office. I mean, we had 420 visits for township assistance alone. So yes, there's some utility things that are kind of dictating where that goes, but if it continues, then you got to be like, okay, we got 2023. We did $680,000 in township assistance, and we were the fourth largest township in the state to do that outside of Marion County and Lake County. So I'm trying to do the best I can, predict what everything's going to lay on the table. I keep saying they're going to change again with property taxes and switching to a whole different model. But I'm looking ahead, but also looking at what we can do for this year. So I would like to keep the budget, where it's at the same. If we want to, try to do a plan to get some of the CIP stuff on the budget instead of designating it, we can do that as well, like the sidewalks. I really would like to see some stuff at Summers Park. I don't need to do new playgrounds, but I think accessibility, at least a walkway down into the park would be helpful. And we just got to get some figures so I can bring it to you guys at the budget. That's all I got for the budget. It's very brief, but if you guys have any opinions on what you guys want to see in the budget this year, whether it's the appropriations or the levies, that way we can go into our budget workshop meeting we have next week with the budget that we know we're not going to have to change too much.
Because most people that would normally appropriate money to, they already applied.
Yeah, so all the community service contracts that we have about 20 between park and recreation and community service providers. we usually give them a notice, say, hey, get your request in by July 31st. That way I can go into the budget with those figures. I did tell them, the group of them that applied, I said, hey, we're facing some challenges, not financially. It's not like we're in trouble, we don't have any money, but it's like things are going to change for how we get money in the future. I have to be prepared for that. So I said, some contracts may get reduced. I haven't looked at it yet, but I let them know that that's going to be a factor going in the future, that, hey, this isn't statutory. It's something that we're able to do to extend our impact as a township, but our statutory things are written in Indiana code, and township assistance is going to be what I'm worried about the most.
You just gotta guess. What is it? Yes.
So the stuff about community first bank will get to in new business.
Yeah. Just
No,
like,
don't look at that.
yeah, surely.
So if you guys are done, or don't have any questions on the budget, we can move on to new business. So for new business, first I'm going to address the reason why most of these lovely people here today. We have got several requests for the changing the name of Summers Park. I've been working, talking with Mr. Isaac White a little bit about what we wanted to do at the township. The changing of the name for us was a very complicated thing. I had that public meeting back in May. I don't know if it's really a public meeting. I called it town hall. I wanted to hear the thoughts of people. Because I was getting a lot of emails. And I didn't want to just respond to 15 emails with different language. I wanted to hear everything. But I had to do my due diligence and look into it, and changing the park name would be a very complicated thing for us to do. It would be under the purview to do it, but this guy, Orlando Summers, did donate that land to the city of Kokomo. There are some people in place that had wanted me to look into it, and I was trying to do what I can, next I can, all that stuff involved. And, I couldn't see us changing the name to Summers Park. But I wanted to be able to honor reverently in some way or another through different efforts. And after talking with a few people, I came to the recommendation to do a dedication of the playground area in honor reverently. And then through connection with the mayor, or actually we're at an event we had in June, he said we could get a street named honorary on Delphus between Jefferson, or he just said this, he didn't say where, I asked later. So I've been talking with the city over the past month about getting the name changed. The intersection of Jefferson and Delphus, and Delphus and Taylor Street to have an honorary name for Reverend Lee. So we'll put that up on there. That's something that the city does, but that's where I wanted to do. I relayed the message. I had a conversation with Mr. White a couple of weeks ago about where I stood on this, and then that's where I want to go to. So this meeting wasn't to be about this, but a lot of these people were here at that meeting with me. I said everyone's welcome to come to all of our meetings. They're public access always. So I wanted to be able to address that to you guys and also to the crowd as well.
No, I think it sounds like you're handling well. You're looking into the options.
And the options that I had, I got pretty good confirmation from Mr. Tolan, and then I initially talked to Tyler Moore, the mayor. He connected me with Tom Tolan, who works in development, and then from there I asked him about the street signs, because they were also trying to get us to look into cleaning up the backside of Jackson Street of the park, and they PO'd us for the work that we've done on Summers Park. I don't want to take away that Reverend Lee was part of us getting that park and was a part of this community. So I was trying to find solutions that I can. And the dedication of the park, we have a rendering, but it's not, we don't know what's going to be the Clifford sign, so we're trying to get the quote back from them to see if it's in our budget. What is in our budget? We have money this year's budget. We'll have to put it in for next year. So that was my plan, to have that unveiled for the streets and unveiled for the dedication of the playground area in October. Christina?
Can we talk?
Yeah, we,
I just have
It's up
a
to you
comment, I
guys.
just have a comment.
Yeah.
I do, think that then giving the dedication for the park area is the best thing to do. He was instrumental in getting all that equipment for the kids, the love children. I think it would be nice, keeps, summers there and then, put the sign up for the playground area. And also there's a tree that was planted up on the hill, a little, toward the Summers Park sign. And I think they're working on getting something permanent.
yeah, it kept falling down. Connie's working on getting something so that we can secure it. So that way somebody can't knock it over or take it with them, so.
His name would be there also. I appreciate it.
And I have a question as well.
Yeah,
Now, who decides if we need the playground dedicated in Reverend Lee's name? Who's the?
since it's appropriated, I get to decide. If I didn't have the money to do it, then I'd have to ask them for the appropriation. So I get to decide the dedication, as long as we have the funds. So
So you do have the funds, correct?
we do have the funds.
Are you saying the playground and the streets?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds to me like it all. John's well done, Bruce.
We also mentioned, I believe it was in the, May, that possibly the name of this building also in this thing, is that still on the table?
It's, as of right now, it's not on the table.
They put it back.
Once after that meeting, I mentioned it, people were like, I don't know what this building is, so I took that off the table. So I mean, that puts me in a bind to name a bunch of multiple different things after Reverend. But I think with what we're doing, I mean, with what we're gonna put for the sign and then the efforts that we're trying to do for the city, to me, that was my recommendation.
Yeah, add it up to date, so that's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Okay, Drew, old business?
Just one other thing, new business. There's this information in here about Community First Bank. We were approached in June about taking our banking needs with them. We've been with Security Federal for the last 10 years. It's banks. We can get shopped out by banks all the time. It's more about what the services they're gonna provide. And Community First, obviously, they're a local bank from here in our county, they're a branch out, but they have, what I was noticing with them was their efforts just to volunteer or donate. They got their $1 million to, last month or two, to nonprofit agencies. So we were like just talking with them and we're like, what can you do for us banking? We're looking to make our money stretch a little bit longer than what it was. Because right now we get about $16,000 in interest. I said, if you can give us something that would help us gain a little bit of money, even though it's kind of a tricky situation where it may go to this roads fund. To do this proposal, I have a resolution in here, but I'm gonna wait until our next meeting for that resolution. I want you guys to read it. I don't want to give you something today and say sign it. But I would like to take our banking needs to Community First. Security Federal, all the people, when Gene changed the banks there, everybody that I once knew were all gone. I don't think that it's a bad bank. I just feel like their customer service has kind of shifted and they went through a CEO change. And, we've asked them to show up for things for you at the park or at our expo. And it's like, they're here, but we don't feel like we're an important client of them. it's not like we want them to come, talk to us every day, but it just, something changed in their company, and just talking with community. Obviously, the CFO and I were on the nonprofit board together, so I knew of their bank. I just never really wanted to go through the process of shopping out. There's only certain banks that you can do business with as local government, so there being one of them, they have to be on the register of the state, and I think, being advantageous. They also offered to volunteer and provide volunteers and things that we can help with, like the food pantry. Because right now the food pantry is not taxpayer funded, it's all donated money. And having a bank like that with multiple locations here in this area, I think would be huge for stuff like that. And our community expo, which we had to do, which was, this year was provided, we had all the funds, or the sponsored by Duke Energy and Duke Energy Foundation. So if we can help have these partners and these businesses, even though we're doing business with them, but help us in these other manners where we don't have to use taxpayer funds. So we're looking at the proposal. I would like to go to it. By law, I can make a change to the bank, but I don't like doing anything that's like, hey, I just switched banks. You guys don't know what bank we're at. But, Anthony talked to a couple other financial officers from other townships across the state. They said, well, you don't have to, but go ahead and do the proposal. So we were like, let's do the proposal. We can come back to it next meeting and talk about it then.
We do it in there 1,000 transactions a month.
That's,
Do we do 1,000 transactions a month or over?
No.
On our side, no. On the payee side, it's probably close to that.
Because they're showing that that's their limit before they start.
Yeah, we wouldn't get that many.
we don't get that many, but we're also looking for a bank. So we have not only the township funds, but we also have our payee account. So when I was down at the State House fighting for that road bill, they had that figure in there because in the year it showed a cash balance of $70,000 to $80,000 in our payee account. Well, that's not our money. We just manage it for them. So we were looking as well to see if eventually there might be an option for our payees. Not that we're going to do it. It's going to be a more complicated situation because right now we're with PNC, and it was nice when they were downtown, but those national banks are closing a lot of their shops, and our payees are on. Some of them have disabilities where they're walking here. Walking to a bank would be a huge bonus for them. The problem is getting them. We have them in a sub account, or one account. So they don't have 75 individual bank accounts. They have one joint account in PNC. What kind of account do they call it? A collective account. So if the bank can do that, it may be something that we may look to in the future to bring those over there. That way, there's a one on Sycamore and Buckeye Street. So it'd be somewhere walkable for them. With PNC, they're getting charged the cash on checks because they don't own the account. We own the account technically, so when they come to cash, right? Am I speaking wrong, Tracy? That they get those $5 fees on their checks. It's like these people have very little income to none, and they're paying that to cash the check is their own money. So looking for an option that can put all of our stuff in one thing would be nice. But for right now, we're at two different banks, and we've been having this since I've been.
Is there any way we could load a card or transfer to their bank account?
Like for the individuals, we've talked about it before, but I think, with some of them, it may be, opportunities for it to get stolen. I mean, cash can get stolen too, but some of the banks, I've asked that question before, and I can't speak on it, if it would work for us or not. She would know more. But I don't know. Yeah. Because it'd have to be a non-debit card, because that collective account, that's where it would be the problem, is that how do you get 75 individuals different? Because on the bank's end, they're not seeing all the accounts. On our end, we have a system, we see all the accounts, and she doesn't have those transactions. Yeah. But if one guy decided he's going to keep going back, technically, if you have that same debit card or that same cash withdrawal card, they could just get it all out of that one account, because we have that collective account. So that's where the tricky part is. But we can take this stuff on with you, bring it back for the next meeting, we can come back to the whole business in late August.
Whole business was.
Yeah, it was brought to me by Kevin Smith of the Rescue Mission. I know they came to our last meeting in April, asking for a request. I don't know if I've got a physical request. I think it's more verbally from that meeting. But I know you guys tabled it, so that's more of your guys' decision. We do have the $25,000 that we appropriated for this year. I talked to Kevin at the end of last year, said, hey, we did appropriate money. It was kind of after the fact of when I do the community service contracts. So that's why we haven't really got to where to disperse that check. I'd rather have something in writing saying these funds are for these purposes. That's why we do all the community service contracts. It lays out, these funds are for CAM and their Howard County Connect program, or they're for FSA, the Jackson Street Domestic Violence and the PTA conference. So even though it's going to be a one-time thing, like with the what did we do? The stat. You didn't want it. The statutes back a long time ago, when Gene was here on his way out. We still wrote up a type of contract. So it could be something that it's still on the slate, and I could just let them know that, hey, what about this 25,000? I felt like I said that to them when they asked for that last meeting, but I felt like they wanted something more. So that is above our appropriation, and that's where it had to come to you guys.
And they still have not complied with your request for the.
I don't know if they have a reply, they just haven't really said anything about it, because I think they're aware that the 25,000 is there, we can still do it at any time as long as we don't get to January 1, but I think they're wanting to know if we're gonna do more than that.
I think now we are not. We've got a budget cycle coming up and we can discuss it again for next year.
Okay.
But at this point, I personally am not interested in adding to that 25,000 either.
And I could tell them, hey,
Especially with the COP and stuff, you don't
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen.
Do we need a motion on that, or just do a table it? Do we need a motion on that?
Table it.
You table it.
That's already taken care of. Thank
so I will follow up with Kevin Smith, let him know that we have the 25,000 for him, we just need to get it in contract, and then we can get that check out to him right away.
Next meeting will be Tuesday, August 26th at 5.
So I guess that's, when we have our budget workshops, we have to put dates in, so I just put August 26th. I don't know if you guys are available for that, but that would be the public meeting for the budget, and then what we have in the system is September 9th for the adoption meeting.
That's the sound.
I can change those, but I have to change them when I meet with, Judy Robinson.
Okay, we're gonna do August 26th and September 9th, you said?
Yeah, August 26th would be the public hearing.
Oh, yeah, it's already on.
Is it?
I have it on.
Oh.
I think it's on.
Yeah, it's
Did
not.
you put it on?
I think it's on our yearly calendar.
Oh, okay, maybe I took it from that.
Don't let me.
I didn't have those. And I got it September 9th.
Okay, so they both are on there. I took it from somewhere, but I just want to make sure the date still works.
Yeah.
And then when I figure out whether or not we can do the CIP public hearing within one of those meetings, yeah, we'll go ahead and try to do it then. We'll have to advertise it, a notice that we're having a public hearing for that. But I don't know for that, because it's not an additional appropriation, it's not your budget, and so it's kind of, but they said you had to advertise. I was like, well, how else would they advertise it unless it's in the newspaper? So I will check with the attorney and see if we need a 10-day window after it's posted, but I'm not 100% sure.
Have anything?
Motion to adjourn.
I seconded it.
Yeah. Before we adjourn, can we get an update exactly what's been decided on the next steps?
Yeah. So for the next steps for me is that I'm looking at the tentative date of October 28th to do the unveiling of the street sign and the unveiling of the sign for the playground dedication at Summers Park at 5 o'clock.
Is there any way that we can see what's going to be on the sign? Right there?
Yeah.
Can we put that on the next steps?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor of adjourning? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.